Well, Adrian, thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Adrian Gorena, I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas. I've lived here in Houston now since 2000. Joined actually Compact Computer Corporation back in 2000, but I've been here in Houston ever since. I happily married. I've been married now for, let's see, 22 years and have a 6-year-old son. Um, Away from work, I spend my time with them. And Personal speaking, I'm a huge Baylor Bear, right? So very, very excited about the football season starting, but that's me.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Spending all your personal time with them. Now that the kids have gone off to college, it's just like I have like this huge block of time. I just don't know what to do with. You know, it's like they were like my purpose for like 22 years. So
Yeah.
anyway.
I am still have a little time, but yeah, I know it goes fast. I know it goes fast. So I'm just cherishing every moment for sure.
Do you have reasons to go back to Corpus Christi from time to time?
My sister, yeah. So my sister still lives there, and her family. I don't get back as much as I want to because my parents live in San Antonio. So when we do have family events, we usually just meet there in San Antonio. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. The reason I ask is, SpaceX down in Brownsville is building that fully reusable spacecraft. So Corpus Christi is like halfway there from Houston. So
Yeah, that's always and when I heard about that, it just always blew my mind of okay, South Texas, but makes sense, right? Plenty of land, so yep.
and plus, the closer you get to the equator, if you launch easterly, you get to take advantage of the speed of the Earth spinning. So you kind of gives you a kickstart.
Okay. Well then yeah, I didn't know that part.
Um, well, did you know that NASA's planning to send astronauts back to the moon again for the first time since 1972?
So other than what I read from our dialogue on Facebook, no. I mean I always wondered in my mind, like, okay, it's been a long, long time. Like, why haven't we, done this? But again, I know it's economics, it's, just different priorities. And so, but yeah, that's the one thing that's always been on my mind is kind of being away from the, from, I'll call it the industry is like, why haven't we, like, we should be able to, what am I missing? But yeah, yeah. So excited about that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a cost benefit. It's like back during the race with the Russians to the moon, and trying to create that dominant technological position.
Yeah.
People are like, it's worth it, but once you've done it, then it's like a lot of people lost interest. And you know, I mean, it's amazing. We do so much work to try to make space predictable, but in the process, I think maybe it detracts from the interest of it. I mean, people like sporting events because you don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not saying we should add that back into space. You want to know what the outcome is,
Right.
but having like a competition between like China and U.S. might perk up people's interest.
Well, yeah, and I think I mean, the last, I know we had those, during the Reagan years, right? Those space wars and, getting ready for, a laser battle in space. And so there was that whole thing. And then it was like, okay, what? And just kind of went away. And so, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money spent, a lot of PowerPoints created.
Yes. Yes.
Um, well, it's funny. You're not alone. Most of the people I talk to, like at coffee shops and what have you, have no idea we're going back to the moon.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, if you could be like NASA's marketing director for a day, what would you do different?
Um, in terms of marketing the trip back to the moon, or what
Yeah,
would I?
exactly. How if you wanted people to know that yes, we're going back to the moon, I mean, like, how would you approach it?
Yeah, so for me, I think that the interest peaks of, you know, what is it that we don't know about space and about the moon and even our travels there to the moon? Like what can we find that will better our lives or better our, day to day here on Earth? Um, I think for me, that's I think if it was marketing it, it was like, okay, there are possibilities that we don't know, and this is an area of our universe, right? That we can, if we can get to it, why not go get to it, and then find out what's there. Whether it's like a metal or an element that is not here on Earth. And I heard about, like, my wife was telling me about this I think this it was something that landed on Earth, right? Maybe it was about a month ago. I don't know when it was, right? That the scientists looking at it found elements, and I don't know if this is fake news or not. Like, I don't know, but it kind of spawns the thought of, like, what else is out there that can help the human race. Um, I think it's one of those, like, I wouldn't market it as like, hey, we're gonna see if we can live there. We can see, how habitable is that. That's far fetched, right? And I think that's it's not realistic for the average person. But I think for me, it's like, okay, so what is out there? What can we find that can better our lives here? Is it, an element that we don't have? Is it, something that we can see from space from an Earth's perspective that, and I know we're doing a lot to the Earth, but what can we learn about ourselves up there, and what can we find that can better ourselves? Yeah,
Yeah, how do you make it relatable to you as an individual?
right.
Like how does it affect me?
Yeah.
It's great for them going, but what does that have to do with me?
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're right. I think that's the whole thing of, like, these trips that go up, it's like, okay, it's only meant for the few, right? The few lucky, the few eligible, but again, I think that's part of, like, okay, so if we're going to invest, millions and millions of dollars into this, like, what are we getting out of it? Like, how can we make sure that it, like your point, right? I mean, ROI. But to me, it's like, okay, so what scientific discoveries or learnings can we get by going that, again, can, now being a father like you, is like, that will help Antonio, right, later on. Again, maybe that it's, about survival and things of that nature, but also, we have the technology, I believe, to go find out, like, hey, is there something out there that can better us as a human race? um, and be that value add. So that's kind of what I look, rather than it being, a trip for the chosen few, right, to go see some stars. It's like, okay, well, let's actually go do these missions for the betterment of our being.
Yeah, I know it's really difficult to justify looking forward because ultimately the best value is probably something we have no idea about. It's like it's probably unpredictable, unanticipated, uh, low chance of it happening, big impact if it does, type of thing.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I one I've been kind of wrestling with this myself because you have sort of like these futuristic visions of where humanity could go, and then you have the reality of where we are, and you have this very big unknown uh, path between the two. But um, I think the number one immediate kind of thing we get from space is a change in our perspective. That Earthrise photo where you see Earth as a ball hovering in like blackness. Um, it's like seeing that picture doesn't have nearly as much impact as seeing that from space. And maybe by having more and more humans see that, they can transmit that feeling to other people to realize that Earth is not like this huge, infinite, indestructible thing,
Yeah.
but it's really this finite, small speck in the middle of a very hostile environment,
Yes.
and we should take care of it.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I think that's part of the, part of the narrative that could be, again, as somebody here that's probably never going to go to space, but always interested to see, you know, what else, why are we going, right? And, we are a small, like your point, small speck in the immense, like, you know, um, the immense space of well, space, right? It's just we are small, we are nothing in that space. And it's interesting to hear you say that because again, I think that's where people lose a little bit of perspective of what is it that we are. But again, it's one of those things where I think we get kind of sidetracked. Well, is there or could get sidetracked on things like, okay, is there other beings, right? Is there other life forms? Probably, yes. Do we have the technology to go meet them millions of light years away? No, we don't. So we're not going to do that. We're actually going to get out there, understand how we're a part of this thing, this massive thing, and then how do we utilize this massive thing, the areas that we can reach to better us, right? And I think that's for me, that's the biggest thing of, okay, we know like things are millions of light years away that we will never get, well, not never, but right now we don't have the technology to go to or to go grasp. Like we can see it in a telescope. But for me, I think that's the one thing of going to the moon again or going out to space and space exploration is, okay, understand who we are in this midst of this greatness, right? And I'm Christian, right? So it's like this greatness that God created, like, okay, but all this greatness, how can it help us? I don't think we've tapped into that. And I think for me, that's like, okay, well, not only for me, but now for, my son is okay. So how can we utilize that? Knowing that we're utilizing everything on earth, oil and resources and, you know, um, harming our planet just because we're humans and we're silly, right? But how can we maybe find something or learn something out there that will help us live?
Yeah, and then I'd like you know electromagnetic uh, phenomena. The actual ability to transmit like electromagnetic and waves through space and detect them. I mean, it's something that we only discovered what a couple hundred years ago, and it's like so foundational to everything we do.
Yeah.
And then, like I guess in the past decades, actually detecting gravitational waves. You just wonder if having kind of humans experience different environments might allow for us to see and observe phenomena that kind of allow for us to develop a deeper understanding of the universe.
Yes.
Like there might be something really fundamental there. I mean, it feels like we know everything now, but it felt that way to our ancestors 200, 300 years ago too. Like they thought they knew everything. And we kind of laugh at them. And I hope that the people in the future are laughing at us because they've learned so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like, and again, I can think it goes back to the point of, what don't we know? What can we learn? And again, the to me, right, the narrative, should be is like, okay, what can we learn from this area, that we can we can reach? But what else is there that we don't know, right? Or what else is there that we can utilize and leverage and not harm but better ourselves, right? And I think that's for me, that's the biggest thing because when I hear about space missions and you know uh, moon missions, my opinions go two ways. One is like, oh, okay, well, there's Bezos going out with his crew, right, again having fun for 20 seconds. Who cares, right? They didn't do anything, they just made the news. Or um, and I think Elon does a little bit better of saying like, hey, we want to learn, like we want to get this, even though I think he's in a little bit for the money too, but that's okay, right? I get it, but what can we learn? I think for this though is like, okay, so what really can we learn? What is it that we can that we can um, invest to understand better and invest to understand how we can utilize, like to your point, right? I mean, it's like what else don't we know, right? What else can make our you know our lives easier or improve our lives? Maybe cure something that we haven't cured, right? Like how we've never had a cure for cancer, which boggles my mind, right? Again, with all the technology you have, even though I know, something like cancer is has impacted many lives, but I'm not saying that there's a cure out there, but what's missing or what else is out there that we just didn't spend the time investing because we were too kind of blinded by the whole, well, let's go to space for you know uh, to have fun, which is okay. I get it too, right? People need to have that, but there's so much we don't know, and what can we go learn to help us? Anyway,
No, no, I think you're totally right. I mean, if you look at sort of like the human potential to like go explore, invent, detect, and if you're considering all like the hours of people that are alive today, like just this work week, if you take, um, let's say 40 hours for this work week and multiply by the 8 billion people in the globe, you end up with a huge number. And you're like, you know, what percentage of that is actually being spent exploring questions that fundamentally make a difference versus all of the net zero activities that we do
yeah,
that just pass the time, where one person's efforts counteract another person's efforts and you really get nothing out of them. I mean, yeah, I think the question you ask is an important one, but I think if you take a step back and you look at the potential for us to go and explore those things, I mean, how do we get more minds actually asking the type of questions that you're talking about?
yeah, I love that. I love it. Yep, yep. And I think that's just how you, again, kind of going back to your first question of how you market, how do you get people interested and bought in, is like, what is from the common everyday person. I think that's where they need to understand that this is not just a excursion for the rich, right? It's an excursion that could help us, but to that point is like we need people to help us with those questions and help dig into things. um so because it is a massive opportunity, right? I think about like the like ocean exploring too, right? It's like, so what don't we know? It's not as sexy because it's like what's here, we can get to it, we can get to the water, right? We can't get to the the depths of the oceans, not all of them, right? But it's there, like we kind of know. We don't know everything about the oceans or what it can have or what but again, it's accessible, it's more accessible. And I think when people think of space travel and moon, it's like, okay, that's so inaccessible or I forget, well, I don't even know my English, right? But it's not accessible. And therefore, why do I care? Why is it that how is it going to impact me? But I think that's just changing the narrative, changing the marketing of, hey, we're going to do this because we need to explore it. We have to explore it because we need to know what else is out there for, again, betterment of our day to day, betterment of our health, betterment of our survival, betterment of our little rock in the mass universe, right? And so I think that's, to me, that's huge. So, but I also do think, like, again, having a 6-year-old, where you think, like, even if you think NASA, right? And you think about these, having even the dialogue with, it's like it's so, maybe even, well, how can I impact that? Because it's so unreachable. It's like, hey guys, well, hey young people, it's not right. It's not unreachable. Like we all have to make sure that we are asking the questions, and it doesn't mean that everybody has to be an astronaut, right, to make a difference, right? It's being able to work on the ground to help the people that are going there to to develop those items. So yeah.
Absolutely. And whenever you think about the future of humanity, I mean, if you were to fast forward 200 years, what does it look like to you?
Oh, I hope AI hasn't taken over. No, I'm kidding. Um, I don't know. The pessimist in me has us, really. I think it's one of those things where I feel like we've hit a little bit of a plateau, right? When it comes to like you had this major, like, you had the Industrial Revolution, you had all these revolutions that had this like kind of hockey stick of, technology and, other things. And you had, the digital revolution and that type of thing. I think if I look 200 years in the future, I don't know if our kind of day to day it will be different, but I don't know if I had like from a multiplier perspective how different. Like I think I'm not a mathematician, but if I looked even if the multiplier between like 1920 and 2020, it's been huge, right? With technology and computers and you know the connection of the world and that type of thing. But I don't know if it's going to be, if that's, let's say, 100x difference. I don't know in 200 years, if that's going to be the same. If I look at it, was it 2024? What is it? What are we, 2023? If we're looking at 2020, 2223, I don't know if that hockey stick's going to be as steep. It could be, right? I still think we're living on the earth. I think that there's going to be more areas that I think that we will find different places to live. Because one of the things that I do again um, kind of see that's going to be different is there's probably going to be, just because of what we're doing to the earth, I think there's going to be some areas could be that are habitable today that are inhabitable. And I think as creatures, we're going to have to learn to, in some areas of the planet, learn to live differently or in different ways, or not there at all. I don't want to sound like too much of a pessimist, but I just think that what I see is that there's going to be areas that we're going to have to move away from. I think that's what I see in 200. Sorry for being a little wordy there. I just like I do see us like leveling off, not too much. There'll still be a little bit of a hockey stick there, but I think it's going to be a steep. Um, I do see kind of our areas of the earth that are going to be more impacted by you know what we're doing to the earth in terms of can we live there? Is it safe? Um, and I'm not going to look in a crystal ball of saying, okay, by 200 years, we're going to have, 30 hurricanes in the Gulf every summer. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. But I do believe that there's going to be some, there's going to, if we're going to continue on the pace that we are with what we do in terms of human consumption, I do think that there's going to be some retribution to that. I just don't know what. But again, I think that's how we adapt and how we learn and that type of thing. So, yeah.
That totally makes sense. Yeah, I mean, one place I think we might start putting human settlements is in the oceans, huge
Mm.
human-made islands, that can be moved around.
Okay.
I mean, one third of what is it? Two-thirds of the Earth is covered by water,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's a whole potential there.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you could, would you take a trip to space?
Oh, yeah, yes. It's funny that you asked that question, because I told Roxanne, I'm like, would you let Antonio get on a rocket ship? Just because yeah, it's one of those things that would be so scary, but I would definitely, I would not, that would be a once in a lifetime type of thing. I would definitely say yes. If I was brave enough and if I had the stomach to, jet that fast to through the sky, yes, I would.
That's fantastic. I honestly think I think within our lifetime that will be a realistic option for us.
Well, yeah, it would be. I think for me, even if it was realistic, I would probably be, just personally speaking, so afraid of, potential outcomes. Um, you know, it's just like getting in a car, right? You don't know what's gonna happen. I'd be like, oh, because if something happens there, it's kind of game over. Like there's no like, it's game over. But I think the benefits outweigh the risk by, a hundredfold. So anyway, that would be my only hesitation.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you like look at kids and you look at all the risk that they take,
Yeah.
and then you're like, man, what are they trading off of that risk? And you're like looking at like 60, 70, 80 years, right? And then as we get older and have less and less years left, we become safer and safer people. It's a very kind of weird situation, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
trading off like 5, 10 years is a lot different than trading off 60, 70, 80 years.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway. Well, Adrian, that's pretty much all the questions I had for
Okay.
you. Any questions you had for me or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean this was really great, Nate. I really appreciate even the time. And so I mean so how many more interviews do you have before you finish your thesis? I'll call it that.
Well, I'm counting down to the end of 2024, which when
Yeah.
I started the project was the year we would have people back on the moon. So I have like 490 more to go. So the
Okay.
rest of this year and then all of next year. And
Okay.
then I can stop harassing people.
Now this is fun. No, this is good. This is good. It makes you think a lot about, not only space but whys and hows and what's gonna happen. And so I mean I think it's just super, super interesting. But well, good luck, man. I am looking forward to if there's an end product, I'd love to see it at the end of next year, just to see how it all kind of came together.
Yeah, no end product right now. My focus is just completing the daily interviews, and then I'll probably let it sit for a few years and
Yeah.
then come back and revisit it and maybe put something together.
Okay. Well, great. That's awesome. Okay,
Well,
Nathan.
you have a good rest of your day. Thank you
Okay,
again
man.
so much.
Yeah, yeah, good to see you. Bye.